The rain was falling softly outside, making the small family restaurant look warm and peaceful from the outside. But inside, things were not as calm as they seemed. Ryan, a single dad, entered the restaurant with his little daughter, Lily. They had come for a simple dinner after a long day. Ryan worked hard, and evenings with Lily were the best part of his day. He wanted to enjoy a quiet meal, but he did not know that tonight he was about to witness something unusual, something dangerous, something he could not ignore. They took a seat near the window. Lily pressed her small hands on the glass and watched the raindrops race down. Ryan smiled at her, but soon his attention went somewhere else. He noticed the waitress walking toward them. Her name tag said Emma. Emma looked young, kind, and gentle. But something felt strange. Her smile was soft, but not real. Her eyes were tired. Her hands were shaking as she placed the menus on the table. Ryan had seen fear before. And Emma's face was full of fear. "Are you okay?" Ryan asked politely. Emma quickly nodded. "Yes. I'm fine," she said, but her voice was low, almost shaking. Ryan didn't believe her, but he didn't push. He watched silently as she walked away. She kept turning her head toward the entrance again and again, as if she was scared someone might appear at any moment. A few minutes passed, and Ryan continued to observe her quietly. He noticed 5 strange signs, small details that most people would ignore, but Ryan didn't. First sign. Emma dropped a glass of water when another customer asked a simple question. She apologized many times, almost too many. Second sign. She checked the door every 30 seconds. Not just looked at it, she studied it, like she was expecting someone to walk in. Third sign. When she walked past Ryan's table again, he saw a small bruise on her arm. She tried to hide it with her sleeve, but she wasn't fast enough. Fourth sign. Her smile was not natural. It looked painful, like she was forcing herself to act normal. Fifth sign. Whenever her phone vibrated in her apron, fear flashed in her eyes. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Ryan shifted in his seat. His instincts were waking up. Before he became a father, he had worked security jobs. He knew how people looked when they were in trouble. And Emma was clearly in trouble. Lily tugged his sleeve. "Dad, the waitress looks sad." "I know, sweetheart," Ryan whispered. "I'm trying to understand what's happening." Emma brought their drinks, but even then, her hands were trembling. She spilled a little tea on the table and apologized quickly. "It's okay," Ryan said gently. But Emma didn't even listen. She rushed away, almost like she wanted to disappear. She kept looking over her shoulder, like she felt someone watching her. The restaurant was warm, but Emma's fear made the air feel cold. Ryan took a slow breath. His protective side was rising. He didn't know Emma, but he felt like he needed to keep an eye on her. Something inside him told him that tonight was not normal. Tonight, someone was in danger. The tension grew stronger when Emma suddenly froze near the counter. She looked at the door, and her face went pale. Ryan followed her gaze. But no one was there. She was scared of the idea of someone arriving. That was even worse. Lily watched Emma too. "Dad, why is she scared?" Ryan didn't answer. He didn't want to frighten his daughter. But inside, he felt something dark approaching. Something invisible yet powerful. He could almost feel the storm coming, not just outside in the sky, but inside the restaurant. Ryan didn't know what he would face tonight. But he already knew one thing. He could not stay silent. Something was about to happen, and he had to be ready. Ryan was still thinking about Emma's strange behavior when the restaurant door suddenly opened. A cold wind rushed inside, and with it came a man who changed the whole atmosphere of the room. The noise of people talking slowly faded. Even the music felt quieter. The man stepped inside with slow, heavy footsteps. He was tall, with rough features and deep eyes that searched the room like a hunter looking for his prey. His clothes were wet from the rain, but he didn't seem to care. He had a strange confidence, the type of confidence that came from anger, not courage. Ryan didn't know who he was, but he felt something in his chest tighten. Emma saw the man before anyone else. She was carrying a tray of food, and the moment she looked at him, the tray slipped from her hands and crashed onto the floor. Plates shattered. The food spilled everywhere. Her reaction was not normal. It was fear. Deep, painful fear. The entire restaurant looked at Emma, but she was looking only at that man. Her face turned pale, and her legs shook like she might fall. Her eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. Ryan watched closely. So this is the reason, he thought. The reason behind the shaking hands, the forced smile, the bruise, the fear in her eyes. It was all because of this man. The manager rushed to Emma. "What's wrong with you? Be careful," he whispered angrily. But Emma didn't respond. Her eyes stayed locked on the man standing near the door. The man slowly walked to a corner table. He sat down but kept his eyes fixed on Emma like she was the only person in the world. Not in a loving way, no, in a controlling, dangerous way. Ryan felt his stomach twist. He had seen men like this during his security days. Men who enjoyed fear. Men who wanted power. Emma tried to clean the broken plates, but her hands were shaking so badly that she could barely touch them. Another worker came to help her, whispering softly. Ryan couldn't hear the words, but he could read Emma's lips. "He found me." Those 3 words told Ryan everything. Emma did not want him here. She did not want to see him at all. She had been hiding from him. The male co-worker touched her shoulder gently, trying to calm her, but Emma stepped away quickly, scared even of comfort. She forced herself to stand straight and walked to the counter. Her steps were weak, like she might collapse. From his table, the man watched her with a small smirk. A smirk full of control. A smirk full of ownership. A smirk full of danger. Ryan clenched his jaw. His instincts were screaming. This was not just someone bothering her. This was someone connected to her past. Someone she feared deeply. Someone she had been running from. Emma picked up a notepad and walked toward the man's table. Each step looked heavier than the last. Her voice trembled when she asked, "What would you like to order?" The man leaned back in his chair. "You know what I want," he said softly, but the softness was more terrifying than if he had shouted. Emma's eyes filled with fresh tears. She lowered her head so no one would see. Then the man slid a small folded note toward her. His fingers tapped the table slowly, like he was enjoying this moment. Emma hesitated, then picked it up with shaking hands. She unfolded it under the table, thinking no one would notice. But Ryan was watching. Emma read the note and gasped. Her breathing changed. Her eyes widened in terror. The note said only 4 words. "You can't escape me." Her fingers tightened around the paper until it crumpled. Ryan's heart pounded. He couldn't hear the man, but he could see the danger in his eyes. The man was enjoying this. He wanted her scared. Emma hurried back to the counter, but she stumbled on the way. Lily noticed. "Dad, she's crying," she whispered. Ryan nodded slowly, his jaw tight. "I know." He watched every move the man made. Every glance. Every smirk. This stranger was not going to stop. And Ryan knew the night was about to get much darker. Ryan watched the stranger closely. Every time the man lifted his head, his dark eyes followed Emma like a shadow. It was as if he was silently reminding her that she was trapped. That she had nowhere to go. No one to save her. Ryan felt something heavy inside him. He didn't know Emma, but he could feel her fear. It was real. It was strong. It was screaming for help even though her voice was silent. Emma tried her best to continue working. She took orders, delivered food, and forced a small smile whenever a customer looked at her. But her body told a different story. Her hands kept shaking. Her breathing wasn't normal. She wiped her eyes when she thought no one was watching. Her apron moved every time her phone vibrated, but she never looked at it. She was scared of what she might see. Ryan recognized everything. He had seen these signs before, years ago, when he worked as a security guard in clubs and late-night restaurants. Women who were watched. Women who were followed. Women who were threatened. Some had stalkers. Some had abusive partners. Some had escaped something terrible. Emma fit those patterns. Ryan glanced at Lily, who was eating fries. She was innocent, unaware of the dark situation around her. He didn't want to involve her in anything dangerous, but he couldn't ignore a woman in fear either. "Dad." Lily whispered. "Why is that man looking at the waitress like that?" Ryan didn't want to scare her. "Some people don't know how to behave," he said gently. "But don't worry. I'm here." Lily trusted her father. She continued eating, but Ryan's focus stayed sharp. He needed to think. He needed to understand what exactly was happening. A moment later, Emma went to the back hallway, the area near the storage room. She moved fast, as if she needed a moment alone to breathe. The manager didn't stop her. He was too busy counting bills at the register. But Ryan noticed something else. The man stood up. He didn't follow her immediately. He waited 10 seconds, then 20, then walked slowly toward the same hallway. His steps were quiet, but his intention was loud and clear. Ryan's heartbeat quickened. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was planned. The stranger knew Emma. He wasn't just bothering her. He was hunting her. Ryan stood up from his seat slightly, pretending to stretch so he could watch the hallway. He saw Emma standing near a shelf, wiping her tears quickly. She didn't want to cry in front of customers. She didn't want anyone to know she was breaking. Ryan also saw the man entering the hallway, his hands inside his jacket, like he was hiding something. Ryan didn't like that. Not at all. Before the man could get any closer to Emma, one of the kitchen staff called him back. "Hey! You can't go back there. Customers only stay in the dining area." The man glared at him but didn't say a word. He turned around slowly and walked back to his table, but the anger in his eyes had grown stronger. His jaw tightened. His fists clenched. He was losing patience. Ryan sat down again, pretending to be calm, even though inside he was preparing himself for whatever might come next. He watched as Emma returned to the dining area. Her tears were gone, but her fear had doubled. She avoided looking at the man. She avoided looking at anyone. She seemed smaller now, like she was trying to shrink into herself. Ryan noticed something else, something important. A young male co-worker whispered to Emma, pointing quietly at the man. Emma shook her head quickly, saying something Ryan couldn't hear. She didn't want anyone involved. She didn't want help. She didn't want danger to spread. She felt alone. Ryan knew then that Emma had been living with this fear for a long time. Maybe weeks. Maybe months. Every sign she showed, every reaction, every tear told him one truth. She was running from this man. And tonight, he had found her. Ryan leaned back in his chair, forcing himself to stay calm. But inside, a fire was beginning to burn. He was no longer just a customer. He was becoming a witness. A protector. A man who had to make a choice. And Ryan knew one thing for sure. If things continued this way, he would have to step in. Because Emma was not safe. And the night was far from over. Emma tried her best to continue working, but her steps were slower now. Every time she passed the stranger's table, her shoulders tightened and her eyes dropped to the floor. She didn't want to look at him. She didn't want to give him even a second of attention. But the stranger watched her every move, like he was waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Ryan kept observing. The stranger's behavior was changing. He wasn't just looking anymore, he was studying her. His fingers tapped the table slowly, like he was counting down in his mind. His jaw was tight. His eyes were sharp. The anger inside him was growing, and Ryan could see it clearly. Something was building. Something dangerous. Emma walked to a nearby table with a tray of drinks. But she was so nervous that the tray shook in her hands. One glass slid to the edge and fell. It hit the floor and exploded into tiny pieces. Everyone turned to look. Emma jumped back from the glass as if she had heard a gunshot. Her breaths came fast and shallow. She tried to apologize, but her voice cracked. She looked terrified, embarrassed, and lost. The manager hurried toward her. "Emma, what is wrong with you tonight?" he whispered harshly. "I am sorry," she said. Her hands were trembling so much she could barely speak. The manager sighed loudly. "Go take a minute in the back. I can't have you breaking everything." Emma nodded quickly and rushed to the back hallway. Ryan noticed the stranger's reaction the moment Emma left the room. His eyes narrowed. His hands went deeper into his jacket. He looked like a man who had just lost sight of his target, and didn't like it at all. Then he stood up. Ryan felt a chill go through him. The man walked toward the back hallway, ignoring the kitchen staff, ignoring the customers, ignoring the rules. He moved with purpose. Dangerous purpose. Ryan shifted in his seat, ready to stand. But before he could move, something unexpected happened. A young waiter stepped in front of the hallway. "Sir, that area is for staff only," he said nervously. The stranger stopped, stared at him, and leaned forward slightly. His voice was low, dark, and full of threat. "Get out of my way." The waiter, terrified, stepped back. But before the stranger could continue, the manager noticed the tension. "Sir," the manager said firmly, "you cannot go back there." The stranger's eyes burned with fury. For a moment, Ryan thought he would push the manager aside. But then, after a tense pause, The stranger stepped back and returned to his table. However, he did not sit down immediately. He stood there, staring at the hallway where Emma had gone. His face was full of silent rage. Ryan felt his muscles tighten. The stranger looked like a man seconds away from losing control. Lily tugged Ryan's sleeve again. "Dad, that man looks scary." Ryan nodded slowly. "Just stay close to me, okay?" "Okay," Lily whispered. Emma came back out a few minutes later, but she looked worse than before. Her eyes were red, and she kept wiping her hands on her apron, trying to calm herself. She walked to the counter and picked up another order slip, but her hands were shaking too hard to hold it. When she turned around, her eyes met the stranger's. She froze. He smiled. Not a friendly smile. Not a happy smile. But a smile filled with ownership. A smile that said, "I control you." Emma quickly looked away and tried to move to another section, but the stranger stepped into her path. He didn't touch her, he didn't have to. His presence alone was enough to trap her. He leaned close, whispering something that made all the color drain from her face. Her knees almost gave out. Ryan saw it clearly. He stood from his chair slightly, ready to move. But Emma raised a shaking hand toward the stranger, as if begging him to give her space. Her eyes filled with tears. She was terrified. Ryan had seen enough. Lily tugged his hand again. "Dad, help her." Those three small words lit a fire inside him. This was the moment. He could not stay silent anymore. He could not watch from a distance. Because the situation was no longer tense. It was dangerous. Ryan took a deep breath, stepped away from his table, and began walking toward them. The night had reached its breaking point, and Ryan was about to cross the line between observer and protector. Ryan moved toward Emma and the stranger with slow, careful steps. He didn't want to start a fight. He didn't want to create panic. But he also couldn't stand still while a terrified woman begged silently for help. His heart was beating fast, but his mind stayed sharp. Years of security training returned to him like they had never left. Emma stood frozen in front of the stranger. Her eyes were wide, her breath shaky, her hands held close to her chest like she was protecting herself. The stranger leaned forward, whispering something cruel into her ear. Emma flinched, her body shrinking away from him. She wasn't just scared, she was breaking. Ryan stepped closer. "Emma," he said loudly, like he knew her well. His voice was warm and familiar on purpose. "Is your brake still at 7? I need to talk to you about your car." Emma's head snapped toward him. For a moment, confusion filled her eyes. Then she understood. Ryan was helping her. He was pretending to know her. He was giving her a way out. The stranger turned his head slowly toward Ryan, irritation flickering in his eyes. Emma swallowed hard. Yes," she said, playing along. "My brake, 7, yes." Ryan smiled kindly at her, acting natural. "Great. Just wanted to make sure. We need to fix that problem before it gets worse." Emma nodded quickly, grateful. Even in her fear, Ryan could see a tiny spark of hope returning to her eyes. But the stranger wasn't fooled. "Who the hell are you?" the man growled, stepping forward. Ryan kept his voice calm. "Just a friend." The man laughed, an angry, sharp laugh. "Funny. She doesn't have friends." Ryan's jaw tightened. This guy didn't just want control. He wanted isolation. People like him were dangerous. "I said," the man repeated, stepping closer, "who are you?" Ryan didn't look away. "Someone who is not scared of you." That made the stranger stop. He wasn't used to resistance. He wasn't used to someone standing between him and his target. His face darkened, and his fists clenched at his sides. Emma whispered, "Please, don't." Ryan gave her the smallest nod. "It's okay," he said gently. "You're not alone." The stranger leaned in. "Stay out of this," he hissed. "This is between me and her." "No," Ryan said firmly. "It's between you and the police now." The stranger's eyes widened slightly, but he recovered quickly. "The police? You think they scare me?" Ryan didn't respond with words. Instead, he subtly signaled the staff behind the counter. A young worker understood immediately and picked up the phone. The stranger noticed. His anger exploded. He stepped toward Emma again, but Ryan blocked his path, placing himself directly between them. "Move," the stranger growled. "No," Ryan said simply. The restaurant fell silent. Every customer watched, frozen. No one dared to step in. Only Ryan stood tall. The stranger pushed Ryan's shoulder slightly, testing him. Ryan didn't move. "I said move," the man repeated. "I heard you," Ryan replied. "But she said no. And no means no." The stranger's hand twitched toward his jacket pocket. Emma gasped softly. Ryan immediately recognized the movement. It was a gesture men used when hiding something, maybe a weapon. Ryan stepped even closer, lowering his voice. "Don't do something stupid." For the first time, the stranger hesitated. Ryan's calmness wasn't weakness, it was confidence. It was strength. "Police are on the way," Ryan said. "Sit down and stop." The stranger's jaw clenched. His eyes darted around the room. People were recording. Staff were ready. Ryan wasn't backing away. Everything was slipping from his control. Finally, with a furious shout, the man slammed his hand on the table and stepped back. He didn't leave Emma alone, he simply waited, pacing like a trapped animal. Emma stepped behind Ryan, breathing shakily. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're safe," Ryan said softly. "Stay behind me." The tension in the room grew heavier by the second. The stranger's anger kept rising. Emma's fear kept growing. Ryan stayed firm, but he knew this wasn't over. The police were coming. But the night still had one last storm left to face. The restaurant was filled with complete silence. No one was eating anymore. No one was talking. Every customer sat frozen, watching the scene unfold like a movie they couldn't pause. The stranger kept pacing like a restless wolf, his eyes burning with frustration. Emma stood behind Ryan, her hands pressed together tightly, as if she was trying to hold herself from falling apart. Ryan kept his position. He didn't sit. He didn't relax. His eyes stayed locked on the stranger, ready for whatever might happen. He didn't want violence, but he would protect Emma if it came to that. Lily watched from their table, hugging her teddy bear. She didn't fully understand the danger, but she knew her dad was doing something important. Her little eyes followed him with trust. Seconds felt like minutes. Minutes felt like hours. Then, through the storm outside, the sound of police sirens echoed faintly. First far, then closer, then right outside the restaurant. The stranger heard it. He froze. For the first time that night, the mask on his face cracked. His confidence disappeared. His anger twisted into panic. He looked at the door, then at Emma, then at Ryan. "You made a mistake," he hissed quietly. Ryan didn't move. "You already made yours." The restaurant door opened, and two police officers entered, soaked by the rain. They walked in with steady steps, scanning the room. The manager quickly pointed toward the stranger. "That's him," he whispered loudly. The stranger backed away, raising his hand slightly. "You can't arrest me." "I didn't do anything," he said, but his voice shook. Emma stepped forward slowly from behind Ryan, her legs unsteady. Ryan placed a hand on her arm to support her. She managed to speak, her voice quiet but filled with years of fear. "He has been stalking me, threatening me, following me." One of the officers stepped toward the stranger. "Sir, we have a restraining order filed. You are violating it." The stranger's eyes widened. "No. She belongs to me. She." But he didn't finish. The officers grabbed him quickly. He tried to pull away, but they were stronger. They pushed him toward the door while he shouted angrily, "Emma! You can't hide from me. This isn't over." Emma's body shook as if every word hit her like a stone. She covered her ears and closed her eyes. But Ryan knelt beside her, placing his hand gently on her shoulder. "It is over," he said quietly. "You're safe now." For the first time that night, Emma allowed herself to breathe. A deep, shaky breath. The kind of breath people take when a great weight finally lifts off their chest. The officers led the stranger out into the storm. The door closed behind them. Silence returned. But it wasn't the same tense silence. It was peaceful. Relief washed over the restaurant like warm air after cold rain. The manager approached awkwardly. "Emma, I'm sorry. I didn't know." Emma nodded weakly. She wasn't angry. She was just tired. Exhausted from running, hiding, fearing. Ryan helped her sit down. She wiped her tears, embarrassed. "I didn't want trouble. I didn't want anyone to get hurt." "You didn't bring trouble," Ryan said gently. "He did. And you deserve to live without fear." Emma looked at him, eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't stepped in." Ryan smiled softly. "You're safe because you were brave. You asked for help even without speaking. And I did what anyone should do." Lily walked over and handed Emma her teddy bear for a moment. "Here, this makes me feel better when I'm scared." Emma's lips trembled into a small smile. "Thank you, sweet girl." The restaurant slowly returned to normal. People whispered about Ryan's courage. Some clapped quietly. Some came to Emma to offer support. But Ryan wasn't looking for praise. He was looking at his daughter, who hugged him tightly. "Dad," Lily said softly, "you helped her." Ryan kissed her forehead. Sometimes, helping someone is the only right thing to do. Emma stood slowly and took a deep breath. For the first time in months, she felt hope. Real hope. She wasn't alone anymore. As Ryan and Lily prepared to leave, Emma whispered, "Thank you for giving me my life back." Ryan nodded. "Just stay strong. You deserve peace." Outside, the rain had stopped. The night was calm. The storm, both outside and inside the restaurant, was finally over. And sometimes, one act of courage really can save a life.